The most powerful men in America were crying, not from sadness, from disbelief. A senator rose from his chair. The room fell dead silent. He looked around at every face staring back at him, swallowed hard, and said 4 words that no living American had ever heard before. The debt is gone. Before Andrew Jackson was president of anything, he was a man who had lost everything. Young Jackson, Tennessee, a land deal, a handshake, a promise, a partner. The partner couldn't pay. Jackson was left holding worthless paper notes and a debt so heavy it nearly broke him. Creditors hunted him for years. He clawed his way back, penny by penny. Most men recover from debt and move on. Jackson never moved on. That experience carved something permanent into him, a hatred, deep, visceral, almost irrational, for anyone who owed anyone anything. He called debt a moral failing, black magic, the national curse. And in 1829, the man with the deepest hatred of debt in American history was handed the keys to a country drowning in it. America had absolutely no idea what was coming. The national debt had existed since before America was America, born in the Revolutionary War. For 54 years, every single president had tried to kill it. Every single one failed. Jackson didn't accept history. He declared war. Not on a country, not on a king, on a number. He vetoed every spending bill that hit his desk. Roads, vetoed. Bridges, vetoed. Infrastructure, vetoed. The government has no business spending money it doesn't have. Then he did something that made the entire financial world tremble. He killed the National Bank, the most powerful financial institution in America, the institution that controlled credit, currency, the entire money supply of a growing nation. Jackson had one word for it: monster. He pulled every government dollar out of it, watched it die. The bank's president, Nicholas Biddle, fought back viciously. He deliberately tightened credit across the whole country, engineered a recession, tried to prove America would collapse without his bank. Jackson didn't flinch, didn't blink once, and then came his masterstroke. 63 million acres of government land, an area larger than the entire state of Oklahoma, sold, piece by piece, to settlers flooding west. The money flooded in, and slowly, impossibly. The debt started dying. January 8, 1835. The last bond matured. The last dollar was settled. For the first time in American history, the United States of America owed nothing to no one on earth. Not one penny. Zero. Washington exploded. Jackson was hailed as the greatest president who had ever lived. The man who slew the monster, the savior of the republic. He had done what every man before him called impossible. He had also just pulled the pin on a grenade and handed it to the entire country. Here is what nobody in that ballroom understood. The national debt wasn't just a burden. It was the skeleton holding everything upright. Government bonds, the debt, were the safest asset in America. Banks held them as reserves. Businesses held them as collateral. Ordinary families held them as savings. Remove the debt, and you remove the floor. When the bonds disappeared, money had nowhere safe to go. So where did it go? Into state banks. Dozens of them, small, unregulated, hungry. Jackson had already stuffed the government surplus into these banks like a feeding trough, and those banks did exactly what banks always do when they have too much money and zero oversight. They lost their minds. They printed paper money backed by nothing. They handed out loans to anyone with a pulse. Farmers, speculators, dreamers, con men. Didn't matter. Land prices detonated. A piece of frontier land worth $1 in 1830 was selling for $40 by 1836. Everyone was buying. Everyone was borrowing. Everyone was getting rich, on paper. All of it was air. Jackson saw it. In his final months as president, he panicked. He issued the Specie Circular. Effective immediately. Land could only be purchased with gold or silver. Not paper, not promises, metal. He thought it would slow things down. It didn't slow anything down. It detonated everything at once. Overnight, paper money became worthless. Banks that had been handing out loans like candy suddenly had nothing behind any of it. Depositors sprinted to withdraw their gold. The banks didn't have it. May 1837. The panic began. Within weeks, half the banks in America collapsed. Half. Businesses gone. Factories shuttered. Crops rotted in the fields. People starved on the streets of New York City. The Depression lasted 6 full years. The longest and deepest in American history at that point. Zero debt to total collapse. 18 months. I want you to sit with something. Andrew Jackson was not an idiot. He wasn't corrupt. He genuinely believed, with his whole being, that he was saving America. But he made one catastrophic thinking error. He believed a nation's economy works exactly like a household budget. Debt destroyed me personally. Therefore, debt destroys nations. But a nation is not a family. When you personally go into debt, money leaves your house. When America issues bonds to its own citizens, the money stays inside the country. It circulates. It stabilizes. It gives people something solid to hold. Wiping out that foundation didn't set America free. It pulled the ground out from under 17 million people. Today, America carries $36 trillion in debt. People stare at that number and feel physically sick. Maybe they should. But the one moment America stood at zero was the moment it stumbled into its worst economic catastrophe. So, what's the right number? How much debt is too much? How much debt is too little? After 250 years of trying to answer that question, the honest answer is, nobody actually knows. That is the most unsettling thing I can tell you. There is one detail about this story, the one detail that history books quietly skip over. The 63 million acres Jackson sold to zero out America's debt didn't belong to America. It was taken by force from hundreds of thousands of Native Americans marched off their ancestral land at gunpoint by the same man who just became a national hero. History calls it the Trail of Tears. America's greatest financial achievement was built on its most unforgivable human crime. I'm the debt architect. Now you know how the foundation was really laid.